Hi viewers, this is Manasa. Welcome to our channel. Today we are with Dr. Dilip Gode, Senior Consultant Physician, Virinchi Hospitals. Hi sir.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, good.
This corona times, how is your duty and all?
It's hectic basically, as we are on the ascending part of the graph. The numbers, as we know, they are increasing day by day, and in fact the positivity rate is pretty high, alarming. Even death rates are also more than what we expected actually. So we have seen younger patients also who are say roughly 38, 35, even without any smoking history, diabetes or other things, they are dying. So it is something which we cannot take lightly because people who have cough and breathing difficulty and some fever, they are thinking it's just a mild flu, and then they are ignoring, even though when we have recommended them to get CT scan, CT of the chest, and then CT shows bilateral, like meaning both lungs diffuse involvement, and then we strongly told admission, but at least I think 4 or 5 of them did not get admitted, and out of them 2 to 3 of them died the next day. So the disease is not something which we can take lightly. It is a very serious disease. Not to fear too much, but we will have to be cautious about it. We need not panic, but we need to understand how the disease may worsen. So please follow your physician's recommendations. If they tell you to get admitted, if situation is not good, if breathing difficulty is there, respiratory rate is higher than normal, then there are some parameters like oxygen saturation, heart rate and all those. So based on that, we can have an idea as to how these patients are going to behave in the coming few days. So if they don't pay heed to doctors' suggestions or recommendations, then things are not going to be better, especially those who are 60 or above and with diabetes and heart problems or any other such issues. They will have to definitely take extra care, and if there is an admission recommendation, please do get admitted.
Is there any special different symptom from flu in COVID-19 patients?
No. So unfortunately, we cannot differentiate a regular flu and COVID. Although the rate at which COVID spreads is very, very high. It is very contagious. Apart from that, the regular symptoms like fever, dry cough, then loss of smell, then in fact gastrointestinal symptoms are also there, like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdomen pain. So some patients may not have any respiratory involvement at all. They might not have any cough, or but they might just have some sore throat or loss of smell, taste, and all those. So there is a high index of suspicion that every clinician should have, and then they should actually suspect, because at this rate at which it is spreading right now, we are in community spread stage. So any fever, cough patient coming to any clinic, I think corona should be strong on the list of differential diagnosis, and we should get corona tests done. And we should also understand the tests that we have right now are about 85% sensitive, meaning patients can have corona, but the test may be negative in 15% of the patients. So these patients may actually have a false sense of reassurance. They might feel they don't have corona, but when you get a CT scan done, they have a typical corona-like picture with both lungs involvement, bilateral involvement, and diffuse, fluffy, white shadows.
Okay.
So just looking at CT, even if the RT-PCR test that we do, if it is negative, we can actually go about treating them as corona patients. So I think that is something which even clinicians should understand. Some of the budding physicians, clinicians, they might see the RT-PCR negative report and they might tell them to go home. But when they go home and when CT scan is not done, when disease severity is underestimated, that's when problems start coming. And sometimes, dyspnea, this breathlessness might be so much that when it might be too late by the time they come. Say when their saturation level, oxygen saturation is very less, say 85 or less, or in that situation, when they get shifted to ICU, when you have to intubate, put them on a ventilator and all, the chances for them to come out of corona are very, very less. Probably 10, 12, 13% of them might actually survive if they have to go to ICU.
Okay.
So we shouldn't be panicking, but we should also not neglect it. It is a serious disease.
Yes.
So pay heed to the symptoms. be transparent, tell your doctor what all is happening, because there is a taboo out there. If patients have corona, then of course GHMC and all the governmental bodies, they are doing their job of phone calls, and there is a sticker that they're putting, and also this stigma patients are fearing, and to avoid that stigma, they're not getting tested, and they're landing up in ICUs and hospitals.
Yes.
So this stigma is not a taboo, or it's not a big thing anymore. You will not be differentiated or discriminated just because you are corona positive, because society, at least right now at this stage, they're understanding that it is a simple disease. It is not HIV or any such major disease, but all it takes is 2 weeks of isolation, home quarantine, if at all, if you are mildly symptomatic, or if you don't have any symptoms.
Okay. What are the precautions a patient should take, sir?
So, most flus, basically, they should avoid, any kind of a contact. The distance between even family members, if you are suspecting somebody may have corona, then it is important that they should have, physical distancing, social distancing at workplace, at family, at commute level. And then if you are going in a car, for example, roll down the windows, because if it's going to be a closed container without ventilation, then if one patient is enough to probably infect everybody in the car, yes, or a lift, elevator and all. So these recommendations, we all know, we've been hearing for the last 3 months, the distancing, then the cleaning the surfaces appropriately, cleaning hands 5 to 6 times, do not touch your face. All those things we already have heard, and we have most of our audience know that. But it is important that once when there are fever and such symptoms, any flu-like symptoms in this particular situation, please do get your throat swab tested, and there are other types of testing also. We have an antibody testing which we do, provided if the corona or the symptoms have been there for say 7 days, then we do a test called antibody test. Okay. And after 7 days, this test gets positive. But if you do the test before 7 days, patient may have corona, but the test might become negative, again giving the patient false sense of reassurance. So we have RT-PCR, we have the antibody testing, and we have NAT, nucleic acid amplification testing, and all those. So it ultimately CT chest is also an important parameter, because there were many times where these two tests that we do for the COVID are negative, but CT chest is showing typical, very like 100% typical picture of COVID. So high index of suspicion, the physician should first suspect. If you don't suspect, if you think patient is reasonably well, if the test is negative, if you're sending them away, then tomorrow, say 3 days later, patient might land up in an ICU. Yes. Okay, so CT chest for anybody with respiratory symptoms, cough, breathlessness, it is very important. Again, not chest X-ray, because chest X-ray is not very a good sensitive test, because the changes might not reflect in the chest X-ray pretty soon. Only CT chest can find out and unmask the problems in the lungs. So this constellation of tests, RT-PCR, then CT chest, other parameters like ferritin, D-dimer, all these will give us an idea. Say ferritin and D-dimer and other things give us an idea about cytokine storm. So if the patient is progressing from say mild to moderate and severe, so these moderate and severe disease patients have these high levels of cytokines like interleukin-6, TNF-alpha, all these. So once these start rising, then there's a high chance that patient may land up in ICU. Okay. So again, whom to get these tests done, which patient needs these tests, there are clear-cut guidelines given by ICMR, by CDC and various other governmental bodies. So again, my request to the general public is do not underestimate, and at the same time do not panic. So be aware of what symptoms that you have, or what symptoms corona might present with, and get help as fast as possible, and pay heed to the suggestions given by your doctor.
Actually, for COVID-19, immunity is very important.
Right.
What are the immune boosters a person should take?
Right. So that is an important question. In general, basically, good protein diet is important, and then good exercise, good physical activity and exercise has shown to improve immunity. So apart from that, there are some immune boosters like nanocurcumin, then there is glutathione, there is vitamin C, then vitamin A and D, and there's various phytoestrogens, and meaning plant-based products, and so all these may help one improve immunity. basically. But like I said, exercise, there's a thing called incentive spirometry. So even for general public, it is important to make sure they do this incentive spirometer, where it's a kind of exercise for the lungs. So when you keep deep breathing, there are 3 balls and 3 columns basically. So as the severity of inhalation, with the higher pressure that you breathe in, the first, second, and third balls go up and hit the roof. So when the third ball hits the roof, it means that you're doing well. So if you can do that as many times as possible in a day, then you are trying to do some kind of a respiratory exercise, which will increase your respiratory reserve and probably help you fight if you get corona.
Okay. What are the foods?
Yeah, so foods wise, I think vitamin C rich foods, then fruits, all kinds of fruits help, and taking low calorie food, less oily foods, then salads and egg, milk, all these definitely help, and the nuts, then dry fruits, some of them. Again, for diabetic patients, of course, we can't advocate them to have all kinds of fruits, but the fruits that are not so sweet, not so ripe, those can be had by a diabetic patient. So overall, it's not one thing that matters for immunity. It's a constellation. It's both diet, exercise, all these things, and some of these immune boosters, and then even green tea. Then all these help one improve their ability to fight infections.
Okay, sir. What are the new drugs that we have today?
So basically, if you look at what we have been treating with in the last 2 to 3 months, the treatment armamentarium that we have right now, hydroxychloroquine, we have azithromycin, we have lopinavir, ritonavir combination, and then we have in the last week we just have had the arrival of 2 medicines, remdesivir and favipiravir. So these 2 medicines have just entered about a week ago. Remdesivir is an injection, basically. It's given to moderate to sick, severe sick patients. So giving it's an injection form. Although it has some problems, it cannot be given to everybody. If there is a kidney problem or a liver dysfunction, we cannot give that. But remdesivir has shown some amount of viral clearance from the body. So likewise, favipiravir. This is a tablet form, basically. This was introduced by Glenmark. Recently. Yeah. So favipiravir is a tablet form. It needs to be taken about 18 tablets in the first day, followed by about 12 tablets every day for the next 14 days.
Okay.
So that's a lot number of tablets, and even the cost goes up probably to 14,000, 15,000 for one course, basically.
Okay.
So, but definitely there are some studies done on favipiravir in Russia, Japan, China. So again, in the West, the studies are still going on. We don't have evidence yet. But some of the evidences that we have about favipiravir in these 3 countries, Russia, Japan, and China, these results are promising. In fact, within 4 days, 88% of patients had viral clearance.
Okay.
So that is a good sign. But can we ascribe the results of these small studies to the entire population? Can we derive to a conclusion that favipiravir will help eliminate corona? Or if one gets corona, is it the only drug of choice? I would say no. We are not there yet, because we don't know yet. Large scale, multiple randomized control trials done in various countries are yet to be awaited. So only then, when the results of all those come, we can be sure, and we can tell with confidence that favipiravir or remdesivir, for example, are working very well, or these are the drugs of choice to be given. So likewise, we also have tocilizumab, which is a monoclonal antibody, which will minimize the cytokine storm that one would get from when they are progressing from a moderate disease of corona to a severe disease. Say, for example, if they are requiring a ventilator, and high oxygen percentages and all, the fraction of oxygen. So those patients may actually require tocilizumab, or even there's a cytokine filter called cytosorb. These two might also help one minimizing morbidity or even mortality, death rate in a patient. But there's another important another important modality that we have, which is called convalescent plasma therapy. So when patients who have had corona before, say they have recovered now, and then it's been 28 days roughly. So once they have recovered, they develop antibodies, and the IgG class antibodies. And if they are beyond the level 1024 or more, then these patients qualify for donating their plasma. This plasma which can be used to treating sick COVID patients.
Okay.
So if you are giving about say 200 ml of the convalescent plasma to a very sick corona patient, you are probably trying to minimize the viral load, because these antibodies are going to bind and inactivate the viral, all the viral particles, viri basically, thereby decreasing the cytokine storm and minimizing the disease burden and morbidity. And probably some of the studies have shown mortality and morbidity benefit as well with convalescent plasma. Now, I'm proud to say that Virinchi Hospital here, we are doing a study on convalescent plasma, and we are in fact awaiting our donors basically, because it's only been 2 weeks, and I think within the next 2 weeks, we will be having enough donors, and we are doing a study on 60 patients. 30 of them will be getting convalescent plasma therapy. The other 30 will be managed with standard of care, the regular care, and we are going to study basically how convalescent plasma is going to improve their mortality or morbidity, their length of hospital stay, their need for ventilators, all those. But so far, with the information that we have had all over the world, I think convalescent plasma therapy is doing very well, and we are looking forward to using it.
Okay, sir. Thank you for all the suggestions. Tell us a few words to our viewers about how to take care and how to stay home and all.
So staying home, as we all know, the lockdowns have been lifted, but that does not mean we are safe. The virus is still multiplying. In fact, post-lockdown, the virus is multiplying in many-fold. So I still recommend that, if possible, if needed, stay home and go out only if it is a mandate, for getting groceries, or if your job requires you to stay, at your workplace, then in that case you can go. But remember that the norms that we have recommended, the social isolation, the distancing, the sanitary methods, washing hands, at least 5 times a day, all these will remain at least for 1 more year. So remember that, these are to be followed even at your workplace. So stay away. Now, it is not even 6 feet, it's about 8 feet distance that it is recommended to stay away, and try to avoid elevators, lifts as much possible. Try to avoid congested, non-ventilated rooms or places. And it is not a disease that we need to really panic about, but it has a very high spreading capacity, which means that when you may be asymptomatic, you might be young, you might not have many problems with the disease itself, but you might actually be spreading it to elderly patients, your parents probably, or in-laws. So it is really important that one should contain this epidemic, and for that, these are the only things that we have: social distancing, and our the vaccine is at least 6 months away, 4 to 6 months away. So even after vaccine, it might only be 60% effective. So I would suggest that we should continue to follow the social isolation norms, the sanitation norms, and probably, I'm sure, soon we will be getting out of this pandemic successfully.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, viewers, you have heard all the suggestions and precautions what doctor told. So don't panic, stay home and stay safe.
Thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe for more videos.